All right, Shalom. Picking back up into my DNA, uh, my ancestry reports dealing with the paternal inheritance now. So we're going to recap a little bit over the migrations of these two mutations of DE-M145 and E-M96. Oh, I guess it's important to point this out that uh, A is the original mutation of all the modern humans, okay? So all modern humans started with that uh, man right there who was Adam. That A haplotype is for Adam. Then you see those mutations D, E, M45, and E, uh, M96, or the branches that continued on from Adam and which led to my branch today, which we're getting to now. The origin of the DE-M45, M145 haplogroup, is believed to estimate is believed to originate 76,000 years ago. And as you see, that's a 3,000 year difference because they say that the next branch, which is EM96, came along 73,000 years ago. Okay, so they're saying that that was a 3,000 year difference between that branching off. And let's look at what they said happened to those groups, because D and E were together and then they split and went ways. D went his way, E went his way. So let's see what they say about that. Again, the common ancestor of haplogroup A. It's where all men are supposed to come from. The common ancestor of haplogroup A. Really, all men are supposed to come from haplogroup A, which is Adam. Current evidence suggests he was one of thousands of men. That would mean that Adam was one of thousands of men who lived in Eastern Africa at the time. However, while his male line descendants passed down their big Y chromosomes generation after generation, the lineages from the other men died out. Over time, his lineage alone gave rise to all the other haplogroups that exist today. Okay? Haplogroup DE-M145. First steps of your paternal line. Ancestors lead from Eastern Africa north towards the Red Sea. And haplogroup DE-M145. The DE lineage branched away from its brothers around 65,000 years ago, among the first of our ancestors to cross out of Africa into the Arabian Peninsula. Most descendants of the DE lineage belong to one of its two branches, D and E. Men carrying D moved east into Asia, and those with E moved west through Africa and into Europe. So that there now they're showing you where this split occurred. So you see Adam, then you see his descendants, DE. E goes west and north up, goes up north and west. Excuse me, E does that. E goes up north and west, and D supposedly went east. Okay. So they're basically saying that's where you get your African, your European, and your Asian population from. That's pretty much what they're saying, man. And so, let's just keep going. Your path branched off again over 60,000 years ago with the rise of haplogroup E-M96, also simply called haplogroup E. The common ancestor of E-M96 may have lived in northeastern Africa or in the Arabian Peninsula. Since then, his descendants have carried it throughout the African continent and into neighboring regions of Europe and the Middle East. So can you see that? I mean, it's clearly telling you, about this branch right here populating Africa, but originating or living at first in, you know, I guess you got to look at Africa as, where they say my genes are mostly found at as being West Africa, right? That's where my people should be. But they're saying that this migration pattern shows its origins in the places that's important to me, because that's what the Bible says that my ancestors went through, and that's consistent. So I see that, that migration, is accurate, but I don't know if I agree with the differences in times that they say these branching, these separations and branching off the haplogroups occurred. I don't know about those times, but I will agree with the migration. I will say that, the pattern, right? And okay, so let's keep going. So they say your path branched off again over 60,000 years ago with the rise of haplogroup E-M96. So if my path branched off again over 60,000 years ago, but DE and, well, let's put it this way. So I'm E that was once a part of DE, and, this particular branch of my ancestors occurred 60,000 years ago. Well, that's only about 5,000 year difference from when they said that we separated from our other brothers, which was haplogroup D. D and E were together, right? Okay. D and E were together at first, and they said we branched off from each other, I think 65,000 years ago. Let's take a look real quick. Yeah, here you go. The DE lineage branched away from its brothers around 65,000 years ago. In other words, what they want to try to say is that the brothers in the D and E lineages separated from each other and became two different lineages, one being D all by itself and the other being E all by itself, all right? And they said that split occurred 65,000 years ago. Well, if you go to what they say in this EM96 branching, your path branched off again over 60,000 years ago. So they're saying me and haplogroup D branched off 65,000 years ago. Then they say another 5,000 years later, I branched off again, all right? Your path branched off again over 60,000 years ago with the rise of haplogroup EM96, also simply called haplogroup E. So now they're going to show you how, well, when you branched off this time, just like you broke away from D, now you're going to be breaking away from EM96. And this break off 5,000 years later is giving a rise to something else. Let's see what this gives a rise to, all right? All going closer and closer to a recent common ancestor, all right? So now we're just called haplogroup E, all right? And the common ancestor of E, M96, may have lived in northeastern Africa or in the Arabian Peninsula. So all my Hebrew brothers must be glad to see that they finally letting that truth out. I know brother Dr. I think it's Ben Ephraim who did like major research and video on this whole haplotype dealing with the Hebrews, and earlier in the game, you know, they were being very vague with the details, you know, about these migrations. But this is more forthcoming. All right, I will say that this is a lot more forthcoming. So you know what I'm saying, shout out to you, Dr. Ephraim, you know what I'm saying, either Tribe or Ephraim, I can't quite remember, forgive me, brother. Uh, but he's some people just call him Mr. Dr. E1B1A, man. That's how greatly appreciated and utilized that work he did was, and it still is, you know what I'm saying? That brother, you know, and that's all I'm doing now. All we're doing is taking the most updated information, man. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, bringing it out. You feel what I'm saying? Because that's all it is, man. It's just all knowledge that, you know what I'm saying, you have to get from sources that ain't just going to be, you know, laid in front of you. You got to go through them and dig them up and, you know, read some of these papers and some of these studies that these geneticists, you know, have published, man. I've read, you know, quite a few of these different scientists and geneticists, their own personal journals, man, on what they think about DNA, you know, research, migrations, mutations, and so forth, all right? So I like to see that they're saying that, you know, what I believe to be biblically accurate, you know, this migration. All right, so again, the common ancestor of E-M96 may have lived in northeastern Africa, which is the land of Canaan, because that is where Abraham lived. He did live in northeastern Africa, which is the land of Canaan, all right? The common ancestor of E-M96 may have lived in northeastern Africa or in the Arabian Peninsula. Since then, his descendants have carried it throughout the African continent and into regions of Europe and the Middle East. So that's why I think that E-M96 is dealing with our father Abraham. So look at E-M180. I think this is where you get the tribes of Israel. Your paternal line stems from, you see, my paternal line, so this is just my father's house, stems from the what? E-M180 branch of E. And so this is where I tell you, I think you're only dealing with the sons of Jacob in this branch right here, all right? That's right. That's right. That's my belief. You're only dealing with the sons of Jacob in this branch right here. This is it. This is where you get Israel. This is where you are. If you fall under this, which they claim is 17,000 years recent, all right, which is pretty, I think a pretty good estimate. You know what I'm saying? Even though they're saying they're dating these things on scientific facts, I'm just calling it an estimate because I don't never call a man's research fact. But I will say that that would be close to the time that I believe Jacob would have lived, beget sons, populated, you know, in Egypt, you know, populated in Israel when we got into our inheritances, populated, well, I won't count the wilderness, but you know what I'm saying, you still have all these nations being birthed with this marker right here. So this is my belief that this is where our father Jacob presents, you know, his mutation to the world and gives it on to his children, and this is where you see the nations of Israel being birthed. Your paternal line stems from the E-M180 branch of E, which dominates south of the Sahara. The haplogroup originated about 17,000 years ago. Now, how in the hell do you know that it was in the pockets of Western Africa? See, you bastards want to put me somewhere You didn't give us no fact about that. That's where it originated. No, that's what you want to say it originated. That's where you want me to think it originated. You don't know that. You lying ass Ashkenazis. But we know the facts. No, it originated where our common ancestor originated. You scum in the northeastern part of Africa, in the Arabian Peninsula, so-called Middle East. It didn't originate in no West Africa, because now you're trying to say that's the reason why we can be called West African. That's the reason why you can put West African descent on my damn report, you bastard. But that I'm not descent from West Africa. But let's keep going before I go on a rant real bad and interrupt the reading. Praise the Most High. But that's that righteous indignation against you liars. Okay, but you want to say this haplogroup originated about 17,000 years ago in the pockets of Western Africa that were habitable at the time, when much of the continent was extremely dry due to ice age climate conditions. Well, that's why we didn't live. That's why we couldn't have originated over there in them conditions, you liars. Over 10,000 years later, men bearing haplogroup E-M180 migrated throughout sub-Saharan Africa, spurred by the development of agriculture and ironworking in the region. That's a lie. They just trying to say that that's what brought us back the other way, closer towards home. That's a damn lie. Okay? Nah, you're lying. Now that's just showing you how often we was chased back and forth throughout Africa, being persecuted. That's all that's saying. They just trying to explain these different migration patterns, people. All right. E-M180 is most common today among speakers of Bantu languages and those related to them. It reaches levels up to 90% among the Mandinka and Yoruba of Western Africa, where the migrations began. Okay, the migration, how the hell the migration gonna begin there where that's where they concentrated at? I mean, it seemed like that's where they ended if they migrated, right? And that's where they are. See, you got to watch how they play on this word, man, in this language, to not be tricked and to just accept anything these people tell you and be happy with your so-called percentages. Man, percentages is a joke when it comes to this DNA ancestry. I mean, that's just a small part of the overall picture, man. And so many of you people, you surprise me when you do your ancestry and all you do is go to see how many percentages of this you got. I mean, it's ridiculous. That has nothing to do with what you're made of, who you're made of, your ancestors, who they are, and what kind of people they are. All right, and this is my paternal lineage, so I'm getting the details on that. You know what I'm saying? As well as my maternal, but this most importantly, because I'm a seed of Jacob, a man with all the promises. All right, that's right. So let's keep going. You see how high the frequency is in the Mandinka and Yoruba? Where they claim the migrations began. Farther from their region, E-M180 reaches frequency of 50% or higher in the Hutu, Sukuma, Herero, and Hosa. The lineage is also the lineage is also the most common haplogroup among African American male individuals. About 60% of African American men fall into this haplogroup, primarily due to the Atlantic slave trade, which drew individuals from Western Africa and Mozambique, where E-M180 accounts for the majority of men. You see, so how the heck you get West Africa all the way to Mozambique with this haplotype? You see what I'm saying? Totally different families or tribes of people, but all, you see what I'm saying, as far as geography is concerned. Mozambique, that's a long, man, you talking about central and going to the east now, I believe, of Africa, man, as opposed to West Africa, right? All right, man, so That go to show you that that's the branch dealing with all the nations, and in that branch, everybody got their own mutation. So I'm EM180, just meaning that that's my family tree. All right, that's the E1B1A family tree right there, EM180. All right, that's what you're dealing with. See what I'm saying? Dominating this so-called sub-Saharan Africa. All right, that's the people right there. So EM180 is the branch, and here's my branch on that branch. See, because my mutation is, you know, a whole nother haplogroup. You see what I'm saying? And we'll get to that later. Let's look at what they say about my particular marker, my haplogroup, E-U290, which, as you see, is believed to be as recent as 5,000 years ago, putting me square in the land of Israel. All right? You know what I'm saying? Putting me square in the land of Israel with my, okay, because they already showed you how all my other ancestors originated in East Africa and migrated all through Northeast Africa, right? Now, them still my people. Them is all still my ancestors, all right? It just so happened that so-called migrations, you know what I'm saying, left us in, you know, larger numbers in certain parts, which was West Africa, okay? And since that's where we are, that they want to say that's where we originated. But they already showed us that it's clear because they got evidence that we have ancestors with bones, because that's what they're doing, man. They're just following a trail of bones, okay? You know, the DNA that they can excavate, and the people who are populating the place right now that they can compare that to. I mean, that's why they know the truth, okay? That's right. That's right. That's why they know how to put this family tree together. But again, when you're Ashkenazi Jews running it, you'll never tell us you'll never want us to see the picture clearly, all right? But I'm hoping that my brothers and sisters can see it a little bit more clearer, you know what I'm saying, as I, by the grace of the Most High, see it a little bit more clear, more and more, you know what I'm saying? That's right. And they become a little bit more forthcoming and make it a little less of a fight, because the less lies y'all tell in these, you know, presentations, the way you present this information, you know, of course, you know, the less we'll have to struggle in this battle, I guess, to get the truth out about the Hebrew people. All right, so your paternal haplogroup is EU290, traces back to a man who lived approximately 5,000 years ago. Yep, that's my father, Jacob, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, all right? That's nearly two. Now they're gonna tell me a bunch of BS, but that's nearly 200 generations ago. I don't want to hear that madness. Now tell me something I want to hear. They don't want to tell me the rest of the story. They're gonna start telling me how many generations ago that was. I don't care about that. Tell me more facts about this man who lived 5,000 years ago, because you should have more information on him than any of the other men. But no, they don't want to give me more information. After they tell me that very important fact, it's like all pertinent information just drops off right there. And now you're trying to like tickle my fancy. That's nearly 200 generations ago. It's like now they're becoming almost personal. You know, like, you know what I mean? Want to make me, man, I don't care about the exclamation mark after how many generations it is. What happened between then and now? Yeah, that's what I would like to know. But they don't want to say much. As researchers and citizen scientists discover more about your haplogroup, new details may be added to the story of your paternal line. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, that's right, because I'm dealing with bum-ass Ashkenazi Jews who don't want to tell the truth about this damn very rare, you know, this very weird genetic Y marker that I have, that we have as Hebrews, all right? And it just dropped off right there. I mean, like, they didn't go nowhere else. But guess what? That's why, you know, you got to run your stuff through all these different, programs and like jet match and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And get, you know, um, like right how you saw the DNA relatives. You know what I'm saying? You could put, as opposed to looking for people with your particular, you know, family DNA. You could just look for people with your markers and stuff like that. And that's how you see these different tribes and stuff where, you know, you could get closer to your family and who you're more closely related to. You know what I'm saying? As I guess you could say a race or a nation, a tribe. You know what I mean? You just got to do your own study and research, which, again, I got the modal haplotype. So anywhere and everywhere you got Bantu speaking people, you're going to have somebody that has my markers. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. You feel me? Because I got all of the haplotypes of all the Hebrews. All Hebrews don't have, matching haplotypes. That's what makes us different. But what makes me different is that I have all you Hebrews haplotypes, all right? U290 is relatively common among U23andMe customers. Today, you share your haplogroup with all men who are paternal line descendants of who? Of the common ancestor of U290. Well, like, no shit. Okay, I mean, if you're, did you realize what they just told me? They told me I share my haplogroup with the men who have not U290, but the men who have the common ancestor of U290. Well, hell, if you put us in that kind of a box, I mean, how else, would it be? I mean, if you put me in a box with everyone who has my common ancestor, well, of course we're gonna all be related. Why didn't you just put me in a box with everyone who has my particular common ancestor? You feel me? Like, I want to be in a box with just the people who has U290. You see what I'm saying? And here, I mean, but I mean, you know what I'm saying? Because you're showing me cousins as opposed to just brothers. You know what I'm saying? That way. I mean, I know it's like, really a nuance, but it's very important because, I love my cousins, but I don't want to know. I don't want to be limited to the knowledge that you share, this haplogroup, with cousins and brothers, and that's all the information you give me when you know good and well you could have went beyond our you could have went beyond U290's common ancestor, and just dealt with himself, U290, who lived 5,000 years ago. Because who's the common ancestor of this guy? We already know. I share my haplogroup with these people, E-M180, because E-M180 is the common ancestor of EU290. Okay, like, but that's because they got information that they don't want to give us. And guess what? They're gonna make us the citizen scientists. You see what I'm saying? They know, that's the reason why they're admitting as much as they are. But they still want to be some little chumps and hold back a bunch of good stuff. But we're going to keep doing what we got to do. But anyway, fellas, that's me. I know who I am. Who are you? Especially if you claim you're a Hebrew. And by the way, they said that my haplogroup was common among 23andMe customers. Look at this. Today, you share your haplogroup with all the men who are the paternal line descendants. You see? The paternal line descendants of the common ancestor of EU290. Why? Because I don't have any men in my haplogroup that would be anything other than other nations, other haplogroups. You see what I'm saying? Like it's like there's no room here. It's like you guys are your own nations. I'm my own nation, and we share a haplogroup called uh, EM180. Why? Because EM180 is the man who beget all of us nations, and that's Jacob. So EM180, it's a lot of different people in there with a lot of different haplogroups, but I don't share with many haplogroups. Today you share your haplogroup with all the men who are the paternal line descendants of the common ancestor of E-U290. All right, which that common ancestor is EM180. All right, and that's the only person I can share my haplogroup with because that's all of our father. I'm my own haplogroup. In other words, you see what I'm saying? U290 is its own haplogroup. You see what I'm saying? And this gonna prove it right here. So if I'm supposed to share, if it's so common, right? U290 is relatively common among 23andMe customers, and I share that haplogroup with all the paternal line descendants of the common ancestor of U290, like duh, including other 23andMe customers, right? Other 23andMe customers. But how many 23andMe customers have U290? 1 in 260 23andMe customers share your haplogroup assignment. You see what I'm saying? So they didn't really say a lot of 23andMe customers have this. No, they said you share this with a lot of people, including other 23andMe customers. So among those other 23andMe customers that they have, it boils down to a very rare 1 in 260 people that have this. And again, it only depends on how many 23andMe customers there are out there that'll show you the true, the truth about that figure right there. But that will indicate to you how rare it is because it's its own haplotype, its own it's its own haplogroup. And when we get to the next part, we're gonna look at some of my descendants. All right. So this is gonna be part 4 and 5. We're gonna pick up in the rest of part 5 next. All right. Shalom.